For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.
All right, first and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God, but now Yahweh. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. This is Captain Tazamamoth. Just wanted to touch on a couple of things. You know, I was watching our beloved brother, Officer Ariala, out of Sakari, Philadelphia. And if you guys have not already, go check out the brother's channel. He's been doing good work. Make sure you guys subscribe. You know, like the videos, share the videos. Brothers, you know, got a lot of good information to bring out, a lot of good edification and knowledge that the brother has, and he's just been doing great work. So I was checking out you know, a video he did yesterday. I believe he put it out last night, and you know, he was having this debate with this rabbinic Jew, and they were touching on the topic of whether or not you know, the people claiming to be Jews today, if their position and their argument is legitimate. So real quick, let's get past this. We don't want to give nobody no, we don't want to give no pub. Skip that. Skip back to the point right here. So just a little over 41 and a half minutes. The brother Officer Ariala, he's going into, you know, Ezekiel 37, just talking about certain prophecies that would give us understanding as to how Israel will return back to the land, because we see that there are people in the land now claiming to be, you know, the southern kingdom, the house of Judah, most commonly referred to as Jewish people, and they're in the land right now. So his question is, how could the people be in the land now when there are prophecies speaking about Israel returning back to that place as a whole, as the Most High, according to the fulfillment of prophecy that he gave to the prophets of old, that collectively he will go and gather Israel, gather Judah, and bring us back to the land together. The, what's his name? Yehuda Yisrael is responding, saying that there's a prophecy in Zechariah, the 12th chapter, that speaks about Judah being in the land upon the return of the or the entering of the Messianic period, which is a whole nother conversation in itself that also can be addressed. But Officer Ariala is bringing out Ezekiel the 37th chapter, and let's see how Yehuda Yisrael, the rabbinic Jew, let's see how he responds.
You can go to that chapter.
I'd love to go to that chapter. You're reading my mind, man. I'm gonna go.
They'll take unto us, Zechariah, I think that's 8, where they will.
Zechariah 8. That's actually where
the nations are going to say, surely we have inherited lies of them forever. So all the nations are going to know, all right, that we have the true and living God. This coincides with Jeremiah 16:19, where the nations are going to say, surely we have inherited lies. Right? Isaiah 2, where all nations are flowing unto us. Zechariah, I think that's 8. Where they will.
Zechariah 8. That's actually where I want to go.
They'll take the skirt of him that is a Jew.
Yes,
right?
yes. Can we please?
And here's the thing, because one reason that Yehuda Yisrael doesn't understand the hole that he's putting himself in is because he wants to solely sink his feet into Zechariah the 12th chapter, not understanding that if Judah is in the land, then it had to have been a fulfillment of prophecy. We understand and know that the people in the land today in 2023, did not go back to that land until 1948, because prior to that, they were expelled out of the land. And I don't think that there is anybody claiming the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that would dispute their reason for not being in the land is as a result of their violation towards God. No matter who claims to be an Israelite, no matter who claims to be a Jew, the land was vacant, the land was desolate, the land was not occupied by the descendants of Jacob, the Israelites, because the Most High had casted them out because of whatever form of wickedness and disobedience that they were operating in. So they were put back according, during the time of right after World War II. So if he is saying that Israel, or Judah rather, is going to be in a land as we get to the Messianic period, and this is when, all nations are going to fight against the people of Judah, what fulfillment of prophecy put Judah, the Jews in the land today, back into the land? Because what the officer Ariala is bringing out is there are so many other things that come with Judah coming back to the land. Judah's not going to just come back to the land just to be chilling, continuing to do wickedness, and just sitting around waiting for this blessing of the most high God, which is the Messiah, just for nothing else to happen. That's nowhere in the Bible. Upon the Most High bringing Israel as a whole, or even parts of Israel, the southern kingdom, back to the land, is to fulfill some level of prophecy and for them to be doing right. Because if you guys watch this video later on in the conversation, Yehuda Israel admits that people in the land today are doing wickedness, right? Certain things like pride parades are going on. There was also something else that the officer Ariala had mentioned, which is just complete and total wickedness, especially according to the biblical text, right? According to the Torah. Understanding that if they're in the land doing those things, then how are they just sitting around chilling, waiting for the Messiah to come back, waiting for the Messianic period to come back, where the Lord is going to prevail them over every other nation that's coming up against them? If anything, they should be waiting on another captivity and another invasion and another expel or scattering of the Judites because of their wickedness that he admits they're doing in the land right now. The Lord has never just rewarded us for doing wickedly. So these are the things that you have to pay attention to, and not allow them to kind of do the classic deflection, or anyone rather to do the classic deflection and harp on a point that really is not even addressing the matter at hand.
Please go to that chapter.
Sure, we can go to that chapter.
I'd love to go to that chapter.
So he's now, after Officer Ariala brings up Zechariah 8, he's like, oh, okay, I have another point. He literally stays in the book of Zechariah. He cannot operate outside of that. And I'm going to demonstrate today that he really doesn't know much about what Zechariah is even talking about. He just knows the little points that probably has been fed to him. He does not study this.
You're reading my mind, man. This is great.
I'm reading your mind. I doubt that.
Yeah, so let's so we agree this is a future prophecy, right? This is messianic times.
Yeah.
Let's move up a little bit to verse 19. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, the fast of the 5th, the fast of the 7th, the fast of the 10th shall be to the house of Judah, right?
Mm-hmm.
The house of Judah, joy and gladness and cheerful feasts, therefore love the truth and peace. So since this is a prophecy about the house of Judah, right? The Jews, Yehudim, what does this verse mean to you? Because clearly it concerns the house of Judah. What are these fasts? Are you familiar with them?
I haven't studied this part.
Okay, so let me educate you on.
If you could hear his voice too, as soon as Officer Ariala said, I'm not, studied. I'm not well studied on these fasts. So you could just see, okay, well, let me educate you on something, because this is a position that people claiming to be Jews today, Ashkenazim, Sephardim, all of the different various sects of Jewish people, in one discussion that, Chief Priest Elazar Bon Loya, aka the Guerrilla Hebrew, was having on Clubhouse, he's going into, and we always just ask people these questions, and what they do is they find something that they are comfortable with, that they are more versed in, which a lot of times is outside of the biblical text. It almost 99% of the time it's something that they know that they have superimposed authority over and connected to what is considered, and I'm doing air quotes right now, you can't see me, air quotes, Jewish culture, and then they want to superimpose that understanding onto us as if we don't know anything about it, then there's a problem. And see, this is now what invalidates our claim to being those people, not understanding that the prophecy clearly speaks about we're going to discontinue from our heritage, from our customs, our language. We were going to totally disassimilate ourselves from who we are as a people. And they even speak on this as well. They can't refute that. Yet when we stake claim to who we are, and when we pose contention as to who they are, then it's, well, you guys should be able to be operating in all the things that we're doing. And it's like, there's no correlation there. This is what you're going to see him doing with Zechariah 8th chapter. That's why he's asking Officer Ariala, what about these fasts? And watch how, again, such pride and arrogance that he has, because he now feels like he knows something more. And then he's going to try to, again, superimpose that we have to be doing these things in order to be the descendants of Israel. Watch this.
What this is. These are.
You're going to educate me on anything, sir.
Look, you said you didn't know what these fasts are.
Because the Lord
have been fasting on these days for over 2,000 years.
You hear what he just said? We've been fasting on these days for over 2,000 years. But wait, anybody knows Zechariah was during the time of the Persians and the Medes, and which means that Babylon was before that, and all of these things was over 3,000 years ago. So why have you guys only been kept keeping these fasts for over 2,000 years? We're gonna get into that too, because their time frame and the things that they're basing their understanding off of, I mean, it's totally secular, it's totally illegitimate. And it's little stuff like this that we have to be mindful of, because they will use it to try to discredit you. And in the midst of the wrong crowd and at the wrong time, without us being aware, they can pull a wool over our eyes and they can use that tricknology.
And you claim to be the Jews of this prophecy, and
you claim to be the Jews of this prophecy, and you don't know anything about these fasts? Oh my God. Trust me, there is a reason why a lot of us have not focused in on the fast that is spoken about here in Zechariah the 8th chapter, or in the other parts of the prophets, or even in the history. It's a reason why, especially, and there's another reason why we're not following and keeping these things now. A very legitimate one. Watch.
You have no idea what they are? Interesting. Who fit?
Yeah. Hold on.
Why don't you do a little research?
Interesting.
Why don't you do a little research on Ashkenazi Jews, Sephardi Jews?
Sir,
why don't you do a little research on Ashkenazi Jew and Sephardi Jews? So in order for us to figure out who we are, we need to go figure out what these people are doing, who we don't feel like have a legitimate claim or connection to the true descendancy of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So in order for us to know anything, in order for us to validate ourselves, we got to go and do research on Ashkenazi and Sephardi Jews, see what they practice, and then we have to practice it as well. It's a disgusting attempt to discredit and invalidate what it is that we're talking about, and it's not rooted in the Bible. Watch the lies that this guy tells. It's not rooted in the Bible or in the biblical text.
I don't care what Ashkenazim do.
We all do it.
Sephardi
Jews, all of us do it, my friend.
And guess what, sir? The fact that you're claiming that proves that you're not a descendant of Judah.
Just like Daniel never forgot his identity, and somehow he's a Jew.
Just like Daniel never forgot his identity, but he's still a Jew. See, one thing, this is the tricknology. This is the false equivalencies that they're making. Again, earlier in the discussion, Officer Ariala was addressed about claims that we make dealing with Jeremiah 17:4, that Israel was going to discontinue from our heritage, again, being totally disassimilated from our culture and our understanding of us being a Jew, right? Our identity being stripped and removed from us, like you read about during the time of the Maccabees, right? During the time that Alexander the Great had taken, pretty much had taken Babylon and the Persian captivity over. Understanding that during that time period, what happened? There were laws put into place where we were not allowed to even consider ourselves Jews. A point in time where a lot of us, again, totally removed ourselves from Jewry at all. we were not keeping those customs or identifying ourselves as Jews at all. So this is the point of reference that is being addressed to the officer Ariella. But guess what? He brings up Daniel, not understanding that Jeremiah and Daniel lived at around the same time. So if it's a prophecy that Jeremiah is giving, why would Daniel be fulfilling that prophecy when they lived at the same time? This was not a point in time where Israel had been challenged in such a way where they would be persecuted for calling themselves Jews or calling themselves descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This wasn't that period of time. So that's a bad example. Do not let people try to charge you or press you about Daniel still being in, understanding that, knowing that he was a Jew, when the prophecy about us falling away from who we are was given around the same time that Daniel lived. This is disgusting, and we got to stop. We have to stop them, rather, right? What is that? And this is something that they don't believe in, but we're going to get it. It's the book of Titus, chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 10. It says, "For they are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers." This man is definitely speaking of a lot of vanity, especially with these fasts, because what we're going to get into is the Most High God himself literally says that these fasts are vain. And this is the main topic that he tried to take to superimpose his understanding and idea onto what we should be doing in order to validate ourselves as Jews. There are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers. Again, his points are vain. Again, his points are to deceive, especially they of the circumcision. So not only is there just many vain and unruly talkers and deceivers in general, but a lot of them even come from our people, right? So we have to understand that this can be coming from anywhere, and everybody is going to be put under the same level of scrutiny, which is making sure that they are lining up to the law and to the testimony spoken of in Isaiah the 8th chapter. It says, "Whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake." And we can't say that there's, anybody more filthy and more lucrative than a certain type of people on the planet. You can go look up and see who is the most lucrative people on the planet. Also read in Psalms the 73rd chapter, it says, "This is the wicked that are constantly prospering." Right? Where is that at? Psalm 73:3, "For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked." Right? We see a certain caliber of people, a certain level of wickedness just finding prosperity in the world. And a lot of times we become envious of it. So this is why certain people are able to make claims that if you're not following me, then you're not legitimate. And then that is how they compel us to say, damn, start feeling insecure about our claims, start feeling insecure about understanding the connection that we're drawing with our lives before we even start learning about the Bible, and then connecting it to the biblical text, recognizing like, damn, this seems exactly the conditions that we're in and why we fulfill and fit this type of prophecy. Therefore, it makes so much sense that when the Lord says he's going to do X, Y, Z, gather this people and this people together, and then out of the land of our captivity is going to bring us back to our land, where we're then going to be obedient, where we're then going to find level of success, and also going to develop a level of respect from the people that have constantly degraded us. This is the fulfillment of these prophecies. Again, we're going to get into it. I have them all lined up. I begin to get long-winded because certain points just have to be addressed, and we got to get into it, right? We have found ourselves foolishly envious at foolish people when we see the prosperity of the wicked. What happens? It says they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. This is what happens. We see this stuff a lot. They speak loftily, right? They talk to us as if the things that we go through is somewhat beneath the things that they've been through. And they always want to attach themselves to the ancient history of what the Israelites went through. But in modern times, they really can't point out anything. This is why they always go to, well, World War II. And again, the more conversations that we have with Jewish people, the more we start to understand how they actually feel. And just straightforward, frank forward and straight, these people literally feel like their suffering and their chastisement exceeds that of so-called African Americans, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Indians. They legitimately feel this way. Another video with Chief Priest and Deacon had a conversation with a rabbinical Jew, and literally was saying that, you know, if you want to get into this oppression Olympics, if you want to go and get into this slavery or you know, tribulation Olympics, we can get into it because we've been going through more than you guys, not understanding that the only thing they can go to is the ancient history of the Israelites, not understanding that the ancient history of the Israelites match up perfectly to the current condition of the Israelites, which we know to be Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. It does not connect with any other nation on the entire planet Earth. So let's go back to it.
Wow! How does that work?
Yehuda, right?
You don't believe Daniel's a Jew because he never forgot his identity?
Did those words ever come?
You see the technology? Now he wants to try to put that idea on Officer Ariala. You don't believe Daniel's a Jew because he didn't forget his identity? No. Daniel is clearly a Jew. Daniel is clearly an Israelite because the prophecy that we would fall away from that was spoken during his lifetime. So it was not fulfilled during the time of Daniel. It was fulfilled afterwards.
Come from my mouth, ever.
No, because you can't say that.
So don't say.
But then why do you hold me to that standard?
Yehuda,
why do you say that I have to forget my identity in order to be a Jew?
Yehuda, don't say simple things like that, because I don't try to put words in my mouth. I never said that Daniel was not a Jew. Daniel's a prince.
Then why am I not a Jew? Because my people remember to.
Are you comparing yourself to Daniel? Are you comparing yourself to Daniel? So if I can't say it about Daniel, then therefore I can't say it about you? A disgusting attempt to invalidate not only our claims and our position on what the biblical text is talking about, but you're invalidating the biblical text itself. And it shows that you do not study. And it shows that this book does not really mean it, or this text, this history does not really mean much to you, much to you, because you only hold to the traditions of men, not the words and prophecy and divine inspiration of the Most High God.
Keep these fasts like the prophecy says.
He says, watch this, I'm gonna run that back. Oh, he caught him in a lie. We caught him in a lie. Their mouths must be stopped, and it's vain, unruly, and deceiving jargon. Watch this.
Why am I not a Jew? Because my people remember to keep these fasts like the prophecy said.
Why am I not a Jew? Because my people remember to keep these fasts like the prophecy says. There is nowhere in prophecy that says to keep these fast. Nowhere. And we're going to go into it, how it literally says the complete opposite.
God, Lord.
And you're a Jew because you forgot about these.
And you're a Jew because you forgot about these. These people are... This is crazy. This is crazy.
You have no idea what they are. On January 3rd, Jews around the world will be fasting on the fast of the 10th, and you have no idea what that means.
I want you to understand something. He says on January 3rd, Jews will be fasting the fast of the 10th. And you have no idea about that. Because when you get into the... when you get into their practices, right, they are not only following something that the Most High never said that we had to, but on top of it, they are also coming up with and doing these things on days that the Most High, or the scripture rather, the scriptures did not say these things happen. It's not even according to the history that we read in the biblical text, right? They can just come up and make up things on their own, and they have no problem with it. This is why every time we question them, they don't really bring up the biblical text. They bring up the sages. They bring up the rabbis. They bring up the Jewish historians, right? That interpret and literally give their own personal exegesis on the biblical text and the ancient manuscripts as to what they mean, and then we have to go off of that. Even if we can read, go into the ancient text and show how it completely contradicts and completely goes against what's originally written, they have no problem. This is why nowadays they say you are a Jew, or you determine yourself a Jew by your by the mother rather than by the father, when clearly it's by the father. But now, because of the fact that a woman can go and get pregnant by a random man, and you're never able to really know who the father is, but the womb that the baby comes out of, so it's actually determined by the mother, because it can be confusing as to who the father actually is. We don't have to go off of that. The Most High God clearly says you establish your tribe and your understanding by the house of your fathers. Simple and plain. But what? Just keep reading. Just keep listening, and then we're gonna get into some scripture.
Sir, the fact that you and your people have this continuity and you're claiming to have been keeping Torah and keeping fast and keeping all these customs for so long proves that you are not a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And guess what?
Neither is Daniel, because Daniel never forgot. He kept the customs.
You're on mute right now for the record, right? When we're looking at Daniel, right, is not at a point in time where he's been completely castigated from his customs, as the scriptures say that the Israelites will. Okay, it says that will happen, right? And we can examine that, right? But the fact that you're showing me something that you say, oh yeah, I've been keeping this for 2,000 years. You have not been keeping anything for 2,000 years, because you sound like you're less than even 30 years old. If that's, you haven't been keeping anything for nowhere near 2,000 years, right? Your people very well may have, right? And that's perfectly fine, right? But that disproves the fact that they are the Israelites, because the Israelites would not be keeping their customs, sir, right? Now I will unmute you.
So, do you know what these fasts are all about? Do you have any idea why we do this?
Tell me why you do them.
Because we are mourning the destruction of the Holy Temple. That is why. We are in exile because the temple is destroyed.
He says we are mourning the destruction of the Holy Temple. We are in exile because the Holy Temple is destroyed. So why are you guys in the land right now? Why are you guys in the land? And are people in the land still in mourning? Are the people in the land still in mourning? Later on in the video, we're not probably not going to get to that in this video. He speaks about exile means that the temple is destroyed. Excuse me. He says exile means that the temple is destroyed. No, exile means being removed from the land. Again, powerful brother Officer Ariala goes into the definition of it. They get to, this is just a situation of I'm white and I'm right. It's right because I said so and I'm white. They are not backing this in any legitimate source we can go to that is indisputable and undeniable. No, they're going into their own personal traditions that they've been doing, like he says, for over the last 2,000 years, when the fast was about the destruction of the original temple done by Nebuchadnezzar and the Chaldees under the Babylonian kingdom and empire. What are you talking about? But again, we're going to get into it, and they always are going to bring up something that you cannot find in the biblical text. They can only show how it's loosely based off of it, not something that's rooted in it. So let's listen to a little more, and then we're going to get into the scriptures.
Not because we're not in the land. That is not what defines exile. It is without the temple, because we're not in the land. That temple is destroyed. Not because we're not in the.
We're mourning because we're in exile, because the temple is destroyed, not because we're not in the land. Like, dude. Exile, the state of being barred from one's native country, typically for political or punitive reasons. Expel and bar someone from their native country, typically from political or punitive for political or punitive reasons. I mean, to expel or borrow someone from their native land, that's the same thing. A person who lives away from their native country either for choice or compulsion. Even when we get to the root of it, banishment, you weren't banished from the temple. Banishment, banished person. There is nothing, no other understanding, no other example of what exile means outside of being expelled and pushed away and banished from your native country for whatever reason, that you are not in the land, not because your temple is destroyed.
Not because we're not in the land. That is not
Hold
what
on.
defines it.
Remember, they're mourning because they're not, because their temple destroyed, not because they're in the land. So let's see what happens when Judah gets back to the land.
Exile. It is without the temple. The Messianic era will happen when the temple is built. We are in agreement with that.
No,
But it does not mean that we cannot be in the land.
Yehuda, stop, sir.
I know you want me to stop because you know I'm right.
I know you want me to stop because you know I'm right. It's like they got a jab, and they got a straight right hand. If it doesn't work, it's just, and Lord forbid that those things land. They don't have any other punches outside of that. If they can't knock you out with a jab and a straight right, that's it. Now he made half of a point. He didn't bring out any source. He went to a scripture that referenced fast. Made an illegitimate point about Daniel not forgetting who he was or forgetting his identity. Again, when the prophecy was made during Daniel's life. I don't get that. And found out that the officer Ariella wasn't well versed or familiar with these fasts, and now that makes his point right. It's just crazy. Like I said, I don't think there's too much more we even really want to hear. Let me make sure, and then we will get into these scriptures, man.
Yehuda, do you believe that the temple must be built before the...
Okay, yeah, they're gonna go into something else. Let's see exactly what he brought out and what these fasts are, right? So Zechariah 8:19. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, and the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th shall be to the house of Judah joy and gladness, and cheerful feasts. Therefore love the truth and peace. So again, you know, he goes here and he says, see, if you don't know what these fasts are, we've been keeping these fasts for over 2,000 years. And if you don't understand it, see, that's another reason why you guys are not the Jews. You guys are making false claims. But if you study who we are, then we are going to be the ones that lead you and give you the understanding and educate you on what is right. Let's see what these fasts are. Go to 2 Kings 25. We're going to start from the top, right? Because, of course, it says in the fast of the 10th. Let's see what the fast of the 10th is. It says, and it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, dealing with King Nebuchadnezzar, in the 10th month, and in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his hosts, against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and they built forts against it round about. And the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Hezekiah. Right? Excuse me. And it came to pass in the 9th year, that's dealing with King Hezekiah, right? So in the 10th month, this is one of the fasts that was had, because this is when King Nebuchadnezzar began his siege against Jerusalem, right? To go and take over the land of the Jews and the people, because this is also something that was prophesied, right? So when you get to verse 3, go back to Zechariah 8, it says, in the fast of the 4th month. Verse 3, and then the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. And the city was broken up, and all men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which is by the king's garden. Now the Chaldees were against the city round about, and the king went the way toward the plain. When you read it in the NLT, it kind of clarifies as to what's happening, right? It says, then a section of the city wall was broken down, And all the soldiers fled. Since the city was surrounded by the Babylonians, they waited for nightfall. Then they slipped through the gate between the two walls behind the king's garden and headed toward the Jordan Valley. So in the 4th month is when the wall of Jerusalem, one of the walls was broken. So the siege began, and as there's this pursuit to take over Jerusalem, in the 4th month is when that wall was broken. So now, as I said, the wall was breached. Now there's just this free-flowing, clear pathway into the city, and it's another thing that's just signifying, or one step closer, signifying the downfall of Jerusalem again, as the prophecy says. So it's another reason why they fasted, right? Another reason why they were in mourning. It says in the verse 5, and the armies of the Chaldees pursued after the king and overtook him. Who's the king? King Zedekiah, right? All his armies were scattered from him, so they took the king, brought him up to the king of Babylon, to Riblah, and they gave judgment unto him. What was the judgment? They slew his sons, and they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. So they killed his sons right in front of him, and they plucked his eyes out, put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him with fetters of brass and carried him to Babylon. So now, when they breached the wall, the king is now taken down, his sons is killed, and he's carried off to Babylon. The nation and the country is in shambles at this point. Verse 8, because it also speaks about the 5th month. So let's see what happens in the 5th month, right? Verse 8, and in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every great man's house burnt with fire. So, in the 5th month, on the 7th day, what happened? The temple was destroyed. Another reason why our people were in mourning. Last but not least, it speaks about the fast of the 7th. Again, we already addressed the fast of the 10th because that's how it started, and the 10th month is when the siege happened or began. So you jump down to verse 25. We're going to start about like 22. As for the people that remained in the land of Judah, because everybody was not carried away, a lot of us were, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left, even over them he made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, and the son of Shaphan, ruler. So Gedaliah was one of the rulers out of Judah, right? So he was still a Jew, and King Nebuchadnezzar had put him over the land of Judah. Sort of like when you go into the book of Daniel, and you read about how Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, Daniel, who were still governors and rulers over, our people. That's just the way that King Nebuchadnezzar was establishing his rule. He still used us to rule over our people. When you get to verse 23, and when all the captains of the armies, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, there came to Gedaliah to Mizpah even Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, and Johanna, the son of Kareah, and Sariah, the son of Tanhumeth, the Netophathite, and Jaazaniah, the son of a Maakathite, they and their men. And Gedaliah swore to them and to their men, and said unto them, fear not to be servants of the Chaldees. Dwell in the land and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. Point is here. And it came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael, the son of Nethiah, the son of Elishama, of the seed royal, came, and 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah. So what happened? These Babylonians came and they killed one of our men, one of our governors that was over our land, that he died, and the Jews and the Chaldees that were with him at Mizpah. So he came in and killed all of them, right? And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldees. So at that point, a lot of us fled to Egypt because they were coming in, just killing us still in our own land, even after Nebuchadnezzar had put one of our own up as governor over us. So we see the 4 different fasts. We see the 4 different situations that prompted this fast that Yehuda Israel, his people, have been following for over 2,000 years. Why haven't you guys been following them all the way since the time of Babylon? Why is there damn near over 1,000-year break in between when these things started and when your people started following them, right? Because if he was, and this is him just kind of really exposing his hand and showing that he's really not the people, right? Because if anything, you guys have been following him for over 3,000 years if you were in fact the Israelites of the Bible or the Jews of the Bible. So you can also read about these fasts in Jeremiah 52, verse 4. And it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his armies, against Jerusalem, pitched against it, and built forts against it round about. You can also read about it in Jeremiah 39. In the 9th year of Zedekiah, king of Judah, in the 10th month came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his armies against Jerusalem, and they besieged it. So from 39 to about 41, it speaks about the siege, right? So let me show you something. The Most High has already addressed Israel concerning the fast that Yehuda Yisrael, right? He's not even going to put his face on the screen. But Yehuda Yisrael, this rabbinic Jew, the Lord had already addressed Israel about these fasts. Coincidentally, in the chapter before the one he went to try to condemn or to try to confound our powerful brother officer Ariella. Watch this. And it came to pass in the 4th year of King Darius. When did King Darius come about? King Darius came about after the Babylonian captivity, right? Meaning what? This is during the time where Israel is going back to the land. Why? Because the Persians and the Medes granted us the ability to rebuild our temple and return to our land. Watch this. That the word of the Lord came unto Zechariah in the 4th day of the 9th month. This is in the same time that, this is in the same time period that we were going back into the land. Watch this. 4th day of the 9th month, even in Shizlu. And when they had sent unto the house of God, Sherezer and Regemelech and their men to pray before the Lord, it says they went to the house of the Most High and to speak unto the priests which were in the house of the Lord of hosts and to the prophets, saying, should I weep in the 5th month? Because one of the months where this fasting was happening was the 5th month. Should I weep in the 5th month, separating myself as I have done these so many years? Should we continue fasting like we've been doing? See what the Most High said. Then came the word of the Lord of hosts unto me, saying, speak unto all the people of the land and to the priests, saying, when ye fasted and mourned in the 5th and the 7th month, 5th month, 7th, right? When ye fasted all these years in the 5th and the 7th month, even those 70 years, right? 70 years is dealing with when we were in Babylon, right? Watch this. Jeremiah 25 and 11. And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. So that's the time frame that we were in Babylon, right? So the Lord is telling us, after the people are coming to the temple, coming to the house of the Most High and asking, do we continue these fasts? So now we get an understanding as to why Yehuda Yisrael, he didn't say we've been doing these things for over 3,000 years. He's only been doing it for over 2,000 years because they're mourning the time period of the temple being destroyed in 70 AD. But guess what? There's no precedent. There's no biblical precedent or commandment that we are supposed to be doing this at all. that we're supposed to be doing it. We recognize that this happened during the time of Babylon coming in and destroying our original temple and taking the land. But this is not a thing whereas this is commanded of us to do. This is not something that's going to be used to validate and verify if we are truly following the Most High, or if we truly are the descendants of the children of Israel. Again, let's get further into it in Zechariah the 7th chapter. These 70 years, I'm going to start back from the top. Speaking to all the people of the land and to the priests, saying, when ye fasted and mourned in the 5th and 7th month, even those 70 years, did ye at all fast unto me, even to me? Were you guys doing this for me? Because the Most High never commanded us to do it. We just did it on our own. We just did it as a means to, be sorrowful and pitiful for all of the things that was happening to us. But every prophet leading up to the destruction, when you guys just read the book of Jeremiah, so many times the Lord is telling Israel, turn from your wickedness. Depart from your wickedness. But what do? No, we want to continue. But then when all of the hell breaks loose and it's now hell to the captain and all the destruction is coming upon the land, now we want to fast. Watch this. It says, say to all your people and your priests, during these 70 years of what? Of exile. Because we weren't in the land. Not because our temple was destroyed. During these 7 years of exile, when ye fasted and mourned in the summer and the early autumn, was it really for me that you were fasting? No, it wasn't. Watch this. Let's see what the Most High said. And when ye did eat and when ye did drink, did ye not eat? Did not ye eat for yourselves and drink for yourselves? Right? Even now is your holy festivals. Aren't you eating and drinking just to please yourselves? This was never about the Most High. So if we recognize that it wasn't about the Most High, and if we see that the Most High is pressing the issue with us to let us know, don't think you were doing this for me. Let it be understood and known you were doing this for yourselves. Should ye not hear the words which the Lord hath cried by the former prophets to do what? To turn from your wickedness and disobedience. I don't need you to fast. And we're going to get into it actually, right? When Jerusalem was inhabited and in prosperity. Why? Because when you go to something like, let's go back. When you go to something like Jeremiah 44, but we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offering unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil. This is when we was in our prosperity, but we were doing wickedness, right? It says, we'll do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth. To do what? To burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, right? And to pour out drink offerings unto her. That's when it says we had plenty of victuals, right? Plenty of food. Our land was flowing. Our land was bountiful, and we were well, and saw no evil. How wild is that? So it says, in the time of our prosperity, and the cities thereof round about her, when men inhabited the south of the plain, and the word of the Lord came unto Zechariah, saying what? Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, execute true judgment. What is the Lord responding to? The original question, right? The original question of, right? Should I weep in the 5th month and separate myself as I have done all these many years? The Lord says, you really thought that you did that to me? You really think you're holding your feasts, your festivals and your feasts unto me? No, because all I wanted to do, as I've been telling you, as the Lord have cried by the former prophets, what was he telling us? Execute true judgment. Show mercy and compassion to every man his brother. That's what I've wanted you to do, right? Oppress not the widow, nor the fatherless, the stranger, the poor, and let none of you imagine evil against his brother in your heart. That's what I've wanted you guys to do. I don't need you guys to fast unto me. I don't need you guys to sit up here and make such a big deal about these festivals and these feasts if what you're going to do is turn right around and not execute true judgment, not show mercy and compassion to your brother, to oppress the widow, fatherless, and the stranger and the poor. If you're going to imagine evil things against your brother in your heart, then this fasting, these festivals, these feasts, that's not for me. It's for yourselves. And that's what you've been doing from the time you were destroyed and taken down by Babylon until even now. But things have changed. But what happened? They refused to hearken. They pulled away the shoulder. They stopped their ear that they should not hear. We didn't want to hear the Most High. And that's why we were destroyed and brought down. Yea, they made their heart as the adamant stone, lest they should hear the law and the words which the Lord of hosts had sent in his spirit by the prophets, or by the former prophets. Therefore came a great wrath from the Lord of hosts. That's why Jerusalem was taken down. Therefore it has come to pass that as he cried, when they would not hear, so they cried, and I would not hear, said the Lord of hosts. The Lord pretty much told you, because it says, therefore it has come to pass, right? It's already happened, that as he cried, as the Most High cried unto us through the former prophets, and they did not hear us. So when we cried, when we wept in the 5th month, and in the 7th month, and in the 4th month, and in the 10th month, separating ourselves, what happened? The Lord says what? I would not hear, saith the Lord of hosts. So all of these fasts that you allegedly you guys have been doing, if you guys are in fact the true Jews, the true Israelites, the true descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Lord already told you when you were doing that, man, he was not hearing you. He was not listening to you. But what did he do? And again, this is what the Lord does because of our wickedness of disobedience. I recommend everybody go and watch this video. Go watch the brother's video. This is his channel, right? Ariala Sakari. He got a lot of great, powerful videos. And this is his most recent one that he posted, right? He got some good views on it. But go watch it. Because he's going to sit up here and tell you how Israel or the Jews can be in the land doing wickedness, right? Probably still keeping these fasts, and that the Lord is listening to them, and they just in the land waiting for the messianic period for them to be saved and for the Most High to raise them up and cause them to prevail over all of the other nations that want to fight against them, which they're currently fighting against nations right now. Let's see if let's see if they really are those people, right? Because they're in the land doing wickedness, and when the Lord does not hear them because they're weeping and crying and still doing wickedly, but I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations whom they knew not. Thus the land was desolate after them, that no man passed through nor returned. When we're doing wickedness, when we're disobedient, and the Lord scattered us, you're not going to just return, just continue to do more wickedness. It's not going to happen. That's the punishment. That's what it is to be exiled, not to just not have the temple. Prove what you're saying. Go into actual information that cannot be disproven, that cannot be refuted. But you can't. For they laid the pleasant land desolate. That's exactly what Nebuchadnezzar did. Now, watch this. Let's go into Zechariah the 8th chapter, because this is the chapter that he's speaking about. Let's see what's going to happen. Right? Let's see what's going to happen. And let's see what it actually means when it says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th. What's going to happen to all of these fasts? They shall be to the house of Judah joy and gladness and cheerful feasts. Therefore, love the truth and peace. These fasts that they were having was going to be turned into joy, and it was going to be turned into cheer. Let's see what happened. You see the title of the chapter, The Coming Peace and Prosperity of Zion. Again, the word of the Lord of hosts came to me, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I was jealous for Zion with great jealousy, and I was jealous for her with great fury. Thus saith the Lord, I am returned to Zion, and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called a city of truth. The Jews in the land right now are not even called the city of truth. This is not something that you even see the Lord standing behind or protecting. No, it's in shambles, it's in uproar, and it's being destroyed and pillaged every single day in so many different ways, right? Not only just on a governmental level, but even on a social level, because one of the things the powerful officer Ariella brought out is that one of the biggest pride parades happens in Tel Aviv, in Israel. This is crazy. It says, and Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth, and the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, there shall yet old men and old women dwell in the streets of the Jerusalem, and every man with his staff in his hand for very age. And the streets of the city shall be full of boys and girls playing in the streets thereof. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, if it be marvelous in the eyes of the remnant of this people in these days, should it also be marvelous in mine eyes, saith the Lord of hosts. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will save my people from the east country and from the west country, and I will bring them, and they shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God in truth and in righteousness. The Lord bringing Israel back to their land is going to be for them to be in truth and in righteousness. Again, I can't stress this enough. Not to just sit there being wicked and then to be rewarded for that wickedness at the return of the Messiah. Whoever they feel like it is. Because they're saying once the Messiah returns, then the Lord is going to raise up Israel. Both northern and southern kingdom. But if they're in the land being wicked, then what place does the Most High have to even return or send the Messiah to bless you? Come on. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, verse 9, let your hands be strong, ye that hear in these days these words by the mouth of the prophets, which were in the day that the foundation of the house of the Lord of hosts was laid, but that the temple might be built. Because this is literally something happening during the time of the Persians and the Medes. For before these days there was no hire for a man, nor any hire for a beast, neither was there any peace to him that went out or came in because of the affliction. Cursed shalt thou be when thou goeth in, or cometh in. Cursed shalt thou be when thou goeth out. This is Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. For I set all men, every one against his neighbor. But I will not be unto the residue of this people. Excuse me, but now I will not be unto the residue of this people, as in the former days, saith the Lord of hosts. For the seed shall be prosperous, and the vine shall give her fruit, and the ground shall give her increase, and the heavens shall give her dew, and I will cause the remnant of this people to possess all these things. Again, this is this is also a future prophecy as well, right? So it's literally something speaking about the Jews returning back to the land to build their temple during the time of the Persians and Medes, but the fullness of this is going to happen during the time of the Messianic period. And we're going to show it. And it came to pass that as you were a curse among the heathen, O house of Judah and house of Israel. Again, future prophecy. Why? Because it's talking about both the northern and the southern kingdom. Future prophecy. So will I save you, and ye shall be a blessing. Fear not, but let your hands be strong. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, as I thought to punish you when your father provoked me to wrath, saith the Lord of hosts, and I repented not, so again have I thought in these days to do well unto you, to do well unto Jerusalem, and to the house of Judah. Fear ye not. We're getting to the point. These are the things that ye shall do. Speak ye every man the truth to his neighbor. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates, as we just read in Zechariah the 7th chapter. This is what the Most High has been wanting from us for so long, yet we want to go do everything else to try to please him other than doing what he told us to do. Let none of you imagine evil in your hearts against his neighbor, and love no false oath, for all these things. For all these are things that I hate, saith the Lord. And the word of the Lord of hosts came unto me, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th, and the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, And the fast of the 10th shall be unto the house of Judah joy and gladness and cheerful feast. Therefore love truth and peace. Let's see this happening. Nehemiah the 8th chapter, right? Start from the top. And the people gathered themselves together as one man in the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord had commanded to Israel. What is this? What time period is this? This is when, the priesthood is reestablished. When you read in Nehemiah the 7th chapter, it says, now it came to pass when the wall was built, right? This is, one of those walls that were breached during the time of the 10th month, when, the 4th month rather, when one of the things we were mourning for, one of the things that Nebuchadnezzar and the Chaldees and the armies of Babylon had came and torn down. This is during the time of Nehemiah the 7th chapter is when, these things were being rebuilt, right? When the wall was built and it had set up the doors and the porters and the singers and the Levites were appointed. Not only were the land being rebuilt, this is also during the time when the temple was being rebuilt, right? So it says census of first returned exiles, not returned temple, returned exiles. You can't do a census on a building. A building is singular. That's it. You can look at the building and say that's it. The census are for the people that occupy the building or occupy the land around the building. So the census is for the exiles that are now returned. I don't understand how, someone can then just, because I'm white and I'm right, tell you that exile means the temple is destroyed, rather than exile meaning being exiled or expelled or banished from the land, right? Again, going down into it, it's just going to start numbering all of the people in the Levitical priesthood that was going to be doing the services of the Most High in the temple, right? Now, we know what's going on. Let's get an understanding of the time period. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding. When was this? Upon the first day of the 7th month. This is within one of those time periods that they were having these fasts, when they were weeping and mourning for the destruction of the temple, right? Because it was in the 5th month that the temple was destroyed, but it was in the 7th month. It was in the 7th month that our governor Gedaliah was killed, which was one of the months that they were doing these fasts in, right? Let's go back to Nehemiah. So it was in the 7th month. Let's see what happens. So Nehemiah the 8th chapter is a scripture that you hear brothers go to concerning how we hold camp, right? How you have a speaker, you have readers, you have people holding posts. We were all lined up, in the midst of our people in the congregation of Israel, speaking and giving the sense and breaking down the scriptures. Let's read verse 8. So they read the book in the law of God distinctly and gave sense and caused them to understand the reading. Verse 9. And Nehemiah, which is the Tershatha, and Ezra the priest, the scribe, and the Levites that taught the people, said unto the people, this day is holy unto the Lord your God. Mourn not, nor weep. Why were they mourning and weeping? Let's go back to it. Should I weep in the 5th month and separate myself as I have done these so many years? They were mourning and weeping, and when they heard Nehemiah and the scribes breaking down the scriptures, they wept. Right? They wept. Why? Because the Most High had already granted or already prophesied that these things will be turned into joy. Right? They will be turned into joy. So it's the Nehemiah is letting the people know, don't weep, don't mourn. These fasting and this mourning and all of these things is going to be turned into joy, gladness, and it's going to be turned into cheerful feast. Verse 10, then he said unto them, go your way, eat the fat and drink the sweet, and send portions unto them for whom nothing is prepared. For this day is holy unto the Lord. Neither be ye sorry, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. This literally happened when Israel, or when Judah, the Jews went back into the land and rebuilt the temple. Right? Again, we can also read about this in Jeremiah the 29th chapter. But thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you, and causing you to return to this place from exile. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. See what I'm saying? Like, it's found right here in the text. And when we understand this and when we know this and we bring this out to them, they talk to us as if either this is irrelevant or our understanding is flawed, yet they don't go into the very text that gave us our understanding to show how our understanding is wrong. They just talk to us and say random, different, vain, and destructive things and deceitful things, and expect us to just believe they're right because they're white. Okay? Isaiah also spoke about these fasts that Israel was doing and how it was not profitable for them because it was not done to reverence the Most High, but it was just something, for them to reverence themselves. And if these people are still holding these fasts to this day as a result of what happened to Jerusalem and the Babylonian siege and exile, then, or even the Roman siege and exile, the Lord has already told you in Zechariah the 7th chapter, and we're going to read it here in Isaiah the 58th chapter, he doesn't want any of that. All he has ever wanted us to do was follow the law, statutes, and commandments. It says, yet seek, Isaiah 58, we're going to start from the top. Cry aloud, spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet and show my people their transgression. So the context is, we're going to go into how our people are transgressing the Most High. This is what the Most High commanded Isaiah to go tell the people and the house of Jacob their sins. It says, yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness and forsook not the ordinance of the Lord their God. This is how we approach the Most High. This is how Israel approaches the Most High. We act like we can just do all of these fasts and put sackcloth and ashes upon our heads and mourn and weep, and that's supposed to be our righteousness. That's supposed to be the way that we seek towards the Lord. And when we doing those things, as opposed to just following the law, we deceive ourselves. They ask of me the ordinance of justice, that they delight in approaching to God. Watch this. How did they approach to the Most High? Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and thou seest not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge? Behold, in the day of your fast, ye find pleasure, and exact all your labors. Let's read it in another translation so we get the clear understanding of it, right? It says, we have fasted before you, they say. Why aren't you impressed? We have been very hard on ourselves, and you don't even notice it. I will tell you why. The Most High said, I'm going to tell you why. This is how you respond. It's because you are fasting to please yourselves. Even while you fast, you keep oppressing your workers. Don't the scriptures say that you're not even supposed to make mention of your fast? You're not even supposed to show that you're on a fast. You're supposed to afflict yourselves internally and allow the Most High, or in secretly, and allow the Most High to reward you openly. But see, that's the part of the text that they don't even get into. But we understand that the way that they approach the Most High and the way that they ask of the ordinances of justice, this is what they want to do. They want to do wickedly, and then they want to try to punish themselves before the Most High punishes them. It's like, you know what, Lord, I did wrong. I'm just not going to eat. You don't get to determine your own punishment. This is not like how you see those little white kids and they grow up and they say, "What? So what do you think should happen for you being a naughty boy, Tim? What should you do, Gunther, for being a naughty kid? What do you think should happen?" No, the Lord already has predetermined the punishment and the repercussion that's going to come upon our people for our wickedness and disobedience. It's already been predetermined. We don't get to afflict ourselves on behalf of the Most High God, right? So again, the way that we do it is we fast it and you don't even see us. We afflict our souls and you don't even acknowledge it. The Lord says what? In the day of your fast, ye find pleasure and exact all your labors. Behold, ye fast for strife and debate, and smite with the fists of wickedness. Ye shall not fast as ye do this day. Read it again. Ye shall not fast as ye do this day, to make your voice heard on high. And this is the same thing that we were doing when Babylon came and took over our land. We are not going to do those things. Is it such a fast that I have chosen? The Most High didn't choose this. You humble yourselves by going through the motions of penance, bowing your heads like the reeds, bending the wind. You dress in burlap and cover yourselves with ashes. Is this what you call fasting? Do you really think this will please the Lord? Is it such a fast that I have chosen? Did the Lord choose this? Did the Lord tell you to do this? He did not. So why are we doing this stuff? A day for a man to afflict his soul is to bow down his head as a bulrush and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him. Will thou call this a fast and an acceptable day to the Lord? Is it you really think this is something that the Lord is going to accept? And these Jewish people today, you think following what our ancestors, the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian ancestors have done, you think doing that is what's going to make you a Jew? It's what's going to make you an Israelite? It's what's going to make you beloved of the Most High God? Yahweh is his name. Is that what you think? Let's see. Is not this the fast that I have chosen? Which is to what? To loose the bands of wickedness. That's what the Most High wants us to do. This is now how we're going to flip the script. Yehuda Yisrael said, if we want to know what it is to be a Jew, we need to go study the Sephardic and the Ashkenazi. No, if you want to call yourself a Jew, you need to study the history and the biblical text and study what the Most High has said. But you're not going to do that because it's really not even about that. I don't even think you really want to obtain the things that the Most High has in store for his chosen people. You just want to deceive, because upon us realizing who we are, you no longer have a platform, nor do you any longer have any place to continue to deceive and for you to prosper in your wickedness, because that wickedness is going to be loosened. To loose the band of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens. What's more of a burden than to hold over our head that we are not the people of God and you are, and we need to listen and go and study and follow after you. That is such a burdensome thing that we've been under for far too long. And the day is approaching rapidly for that to be overturned, for it to be revealed who the true chosen people of God is, and for justice to be served. Because remember, that's what our people are seeking. They ask of me the ordinance of justice, and that true justice is going to be revealed very, very soon. It says, we were at verse 6. Is it not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burden, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke? Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor to the poor that are cast out of thy house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh? You Blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians, who are the true children of Israel, the chosen people of God, What the Most High is waiting for us to do, instead of us feeling sorry for ourselves, being pitiful of ourselves, trying to put our own burden and affliction on ourselves, what we need to do is we need to not hide ourselves from our own flesh. We need to go and bring things to the poor. We need to go and give bread unto the hungry. All right. We need, when we see someone without, when we see someone naked, we need to go and give them and cover them and clothe them and make them warm. These are the things that the Most High is waiting for us to do. We see the example of that when the Lord speaks about the good Samaritan, or the Samaritan man, in what is considered the New Testament. Why? Because this is a great example and a great precept for that, because the Lord is showing that in that verse in the New Testament, right? I believe it's Matthew the 23rd chapter. It might be, Matthew the 23rd chapter, I believe. I could be wrong. He says, a man of his own house, he said the Levite even came by, and they seen that this man was without. And what happened? They all walked by. But then the Samaritan came by, which we understand the Samaritan to be the northern kingdom. Samaria was the capital of the northern kingdom, the capital of Ephraim. So we understand and know that these people who might not even look like your own, or you might not even think that they're your own, or somebody that you have cast off as not your own, they actually are your people. The same way so-called black man don't think a Hispanic man is his brother or his neighbor or of his kindred, nor do they think the native Indian is. But these are the people, upon us looking out for each other, is when the Lord is going to have favor on us. And then we're going to actually come out of our captivity and our oppression will cease. That's what we need to do. Do not hide ourselves from our own flesh. Verse 8, then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily, and thy righteousness shall go before thee, and the glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. That's when we're going to have that glory. And then what happens? You go to Isaiah 60, or you go to Isaiah 59, 60, 61. It speaks about how the Lord is going to cause these other nations to bring our people back, right? He's going to cause these other nations to be our vine dressers and the tillers of our ground. How we're going to then, Isaiah 61, which we understand is the definition, the true definition of the gospel. All of these things are important. All of these things are important to, or what is going to be contributed to our salvation. And what's most important to get that is exactly what we read here in Isaiah, the 58th chapter. And we're going to start from 5 all the way down to 7, right? Loose the bands of wickedness, right? Undo the heavy burden. Let the oppressed go free. Break the yoke, right? Give bread unto the hungry. Bring to the poor, right? And those that are cast out of the house. When you see someone naked, cover him, and don't hide yourself from your own flesh. Verse 9, then shalt thou call, and the Lord shall answer, because now he's going to hear us. When we do those things, that's when he's going to hear us. Not because, we're out here fasting. Not because we're out here fasting. That's not what's going to cause the Most High to hear us. They refuse to hearken, pulled away the shoulder, stopped the ears that they should not hear. Therefore it should come to pass that as he cried, and as Most High cried, and we would not hear him, so when we cried, I, which is the Most High, he would not hear us. But upon us doing all of those things, thou shalt cry, and and the Lord shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, here I am. He's going to answer us. If thou take away from the midst of thee the yoke, and putting forth of the finger, and speaking vanity, what's putting forth of the finger? Us blaming everybody. Or trying to place the blame on anybody or anything outside of ourselves. We got to stop pointing the finger and take accountability for ourselves. That's when the Most High is going to return. And he's going to hear us. And he's going to answer our cry, which is what you read about in Nehemiah, the 9th chapter, in the 27th verse. Therefore thou deliveredest them into the hand of their enemies, who vexed them in the time of their trouble, when they cried unto thee. Thou heardest them from heaven, and according to thy manifold mercies, thou gavest them saviors, who saved them out of the hand of their enemies. I'm talking about this. This is just a beautiful demonstration. And I think it's through the Spirit of the Most High that, the powerful brother officer Ariella out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, did this debate that this guy mentioned this, and you know, the brother was not well versed on it, because when I seen it, I'm like, I know about these fasts, and when I looked further into it, it was like, something's not right here. Something is not right here. So listen, let's go further into some more real quick. Let's finish this. If thou take away from thee the midst of the yoke, from the midst of thee the yoke, put forth the finger and speak in vanity. And if you draw out thy soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and thy darkness shall be as the noonday. Right? We're gonna the Lord's light, or his face, is now gonna shine upon us. Again, you read about that in Isaiah, the 60th chapter, which is 2 chapters later. Let's just get it real quick while we're here. Isaiah 60 and 19. The sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy God thy glory. Read Isaiah 60. Powerful. So I want to just show you guys something really quickly. So when you go into, you know, the modern rendition and version of these fasts, you see that where they stem from. This is why he said we've been following this for the last 2,000 years rather than the last 3,000. We're going to get into it, and then I'm going to show you how, you know, even their days are off. It says, after the first temple was destroyed, the prophet instituted fast, marking the tragic events surrounding the destruction and the ensuing exile. The destruction and ensuing exile of the Jewish people. Why? Because the exile means being expelled and driven and banished from the land. This step was taken in order to prompt the nation to grieve and mourn over the destruction and exile. It was intended that by doing so, people will repent and mend their corrupted ways. That was not the case. That's not even supported in the scriptures, right? It was a way for them to just please themselves. The Most High himself said that. For it was the evil ways of the people which brought on all the difficulties which befell the nation, and which continue to befall even until today. To befall us. So we understand that this is written by a Jewish person, which makes sense. It's a Jewish website. On the 10th day of the 10th month, they instituted a fast, because on that day Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, began his siege on the walls of Jerusalem. In the day of Tammuz, right, which we understand and know, or we have to understand that it's actually the 4th month, right? Tammuz, it says the 10th month of the civil and the 4th of the religious year. This is, you know, religiously, the religious practices is how they were calculating this fast, right? So it says, in the month of Tammuz, a fast was instituted, because in that month, the walls of the city were breached. Now watch this. It doesn't even mention what day of the month in the 4th month. Yet, in the scriptures, it does mention. On the 9th day of the 4th month, right, is when the famine prevailed and the city was broken. The city being broken, we already read this, how it's talking about of the city wall was broken down. So when it's going to show you here, a fast was instituted because in that day the walls of the city were breached. They were broken. So it just says in the month of Tammuz, which is the 4th month. It doesn't even give the day, right? But then here it says on the 9th day of the month Av. Let's see what the month Av is. In the Jewish calendar, it's the 11th month of their civil year and the 5th month of the religious year. So it says on the 9th day of the 5th month, a fast was instituted because on the 9th day of the 5th month, our holy temple was destroyed. What does the scripture say to happen? What day does the scripture say that the temple was destroyed? Right? 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, he burned the house of the Lord. 7th day, not the 9th. Still off. Right? Then when you go on, it says the holy temple was destroyed, and on the 3rd day of the month of Tishri, I'm not sure even how to pronounce that. In the Jewish calendar, the 1st month of the civil and the 7th of the religious year usually can coincide with parts of September and October. So it says on the 3rd day of this month, the 7th month, they instituted a fast marking the death of Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, the leader of the Jews who remained in Jerusalem or remained in Judah after the destruction of the temple. While his death, the last burning coal of the Jewish rule in the land was extinguished. Guess what? In the scriptures, it doesn't even mention what day of the month. It just says in the 7th month. So they've superimposed their own idea of that. But then in the 4th month, where it says the 9th day, they don't even tell you what day on that one. It just says in the month. So you start to see how they just deviate so much from the biblical text and from what is actually written, our actual history. There's nothing there. They're loosely basing this stuff off of what we read and reinventing what it is to be an Israelite and our own history, yet we should follow them. We got to get away from this stuff. We have to stop. But to conclude all of this, let's bring this thing full circle here. Let's go back to Zechariah 8:19. It says, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the fast of the 4th month, and the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th, shall be to the house of Judah joy and gladness and cheerful feast. Therefore love the truth and peace." Let's read this in the NLT, and let's get some clarity on just, the wording of it. This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says. "The traditional fast and times of mourning you have kept in early summer and midsummer, autumn and winter are now ended. They will become festivals of joy and celebrations of the people of Judah. So love truth and peace." And that's the conclusion that we have. That's the understanding that we see right here, right before our eyes. And it's so much more even on top of what I've already brought out. But, through the Spirit and power of the Most High God, we give all honor, glory, and praise, to the Most High God, our Father. Yahweh is his name. We do so in the name of his only begotten Son, of Mashiach Yahushai. That we even have this understanding that the Most High gives us, revelation through these debates. So everybody continue to tune in. Everybody continue to study. Everybody continue to strive for the masteries. Be faithful unto death. And always, just continue to stay faithful. Again, if you guys have not already, go check out the powerful brother, Officer Ariala Sakari, out of Philly, Sakari, Philly. Subscribe to his channel, watch his videos, share his videos, hit the like button, because that definitely helps a lot of us out as well. If you guys have not already, check out Sakari San Diego. All right, subscribe to the channel, watch the videos, like the videos, share the videos, man. And with that, we all give all praise to the Most High God in the name of his Son. Shalom.
For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces, iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation, not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces, iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation, not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.